While Drawing One was working on their 2-point perspective projects, the ones with the 3 choices, I made my choice. I decided I was going to do a 2-point perspective that was highly realistic, and I actually went out on site on Sunday. I went to St. Catherine's at Bell Gable and used a pencil and started sketching out the little church, and then I used pen techniques to fill in with texture and all the shading. And it reminded me that we haven't done pen techniques in Drawing One yet. So that's what made me remember we needed to do some pen techniques and get away from pencils at least a little bit. Some pens, some things about pens. We have 2 basic types. We've got your ballpoint pen, and then technical pens or any kind of pen with a soft felt tip, like a Sharpie or a Crayola marker. Today I'm going to use a Crayola marker because that's what I got. So we have soft tip, and see, these pens were donated by Randy Solar, one of the local musicians. He donated like, I don't know, about 100 of them. So anyway, this is a really nice ballpoint pen. For the little church sketch, I used this one. It's just a different kind of ballpoint pen. I've been playing around with the Bic, and it does some really nice line work. So some different techniques: straight up line drawing, contour lines and cross contour lines to show value changes and highlights. Stippling, where you make lots of little dots, no fishtails, and closer together on all of the pen work. The closer together they are, the denser and the darker it's going to be. The more space you have between things, the lighter it's going to be. Parallel lines, cross hatching, my favorite, scribble. You'll see on here, well, I've done parallel lines, I've done some cross hatching, but I have a tendency to do a lot of scribble. It's really good for texture anyway. What I'd like to see you do first is to try some of these pens out and see if you can do that shading. So this little sheet of 6 basic techniques shows apples. You can do apples or at least do spheres. I just used one of these applesauce cups and traced the bottoms to get some circles. So for contour lines, you know, I would suggest you pick a light source, and if you need to do some of those like cross contour lines to help keep you organized, do it. This pen, I'm going to scratch around on the paper first so you can see how it works. It'll do really, really light lines. It'll do dark lines. Sometimes you don't realize that your ballpoint pens can do that, kind of like a pencil. So if I'm going to do the contour lines, I want my lines to bend and go around the circle so that it becomes a sphere. And at some point, one of those lines is going to be almost straight up and down. And then I'm going to put more. And more, and more, and press harder. And I'm going to turn my paper so that my hand will curve nicely with that circle to make it into a sphere. And I'm going to start going round and round. The nice thing about the pens is that you do go kind of slow, so you can keep track of what you're doing. And they photocopy really, really well. That's one of the reasons why pen and ink is so good for reproductions and things like graphic novels, cartoons, and comics. Anyway, I'm going to keep working on this page, but as you can see, it takes a little while to keep building that up. Eventually, I'm just going to erase and get rid of all these lines, the pencil lines. Of course, I should probably wait till the ink dries, and then it'll just be pen work. The stippling, I'm going to use the Crayola, and this time I'm going to do the little cross contour lines. I know where I'm going to have my highlight, where my darks are going to be. And then this one, you kind of have to go dot, 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 straight up and down. If you go too fast, you start getting a little fishtails and things that you might not really want. This is almost machine-like. Some people can sit and do stippling all day long. Some people can only do it for 5 or 10 minutes at a time. But The nice thing is you can go work on another circle and always come back to do more stippling. So again, more dots closer together to get darker. This is just one